Oh, that way. Okay.
Good evening. We have come to the last session, the concluding one. We have with us Honorable Mr. Justice Amol Ratan Singh, Judge Punjab and Haryana High Court, and President of Board of Governors, Chandigarh Judicial Academy, for giving the valedictory address. This 2 days workshop started with the inaugural session, wherein the opening remarks were given by Honorable Mr. Justice Massi, A.G. Massi, and the inaugural address was delivered by Honorable the Chief Justice, Justice Ravi Shankar Jha. They gave the overview of the Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection Children Act, the legislation right from the year 2000 to 2015 and the amendments in the year 2021. During this 2 days workshop, 9 different sessions were taken and different aspects were covered relating to this particular important legislation. Child is the beam of sunlight. It is easy to build up strong children. It is difficult to repair the broken children. That being the focus of this legislation, the different speakers, the resource persons dealt with from experience different aspects, particularly focusing the practical aspects, what needs to be done, and the roadmap for the future they could give in regard to that. And for this particular valedictory session, we have Honorable Mr. Justice Amol Ratan Singh, who is a mix of a lawyer and a judge. Having graduated in law from the Punjab University in the year 1985, straightway he joined the bar. Initially, he held different positions as a law officer of the state of Haryana. And then in the year 2005, he was the additional Advocate General, state of Haryana, for that matter. Punjab, sorry.
That's okay.
It was in the year 2012 that my Lord was elevated a judge of Punjab and Haryana High Court. And therefore, what a blend of both the bar and the bench. Besides this, he is presently the president of the Board of Governors of Chandigarh Judicial Academy and piloting the academy, providing the leadership in this particular context. No one else could have been a better person to deliver the valedictory address. I'm happy to present to you Honorable Mr. Justice Amol Ratan Singh. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening to everybody. Dr. Gupta, Director Academics of the Academy, Ms. Shalini Nagpal, Director Administration of the Academy, all other academic staff. Well, I don't mean to club them like a generality, but each individual member of the faculty of the Academy, all presiding judges of juvenile justice boards, all learned magistrates who have attended the workshop, and anybody else who's present. A very good evening to everybody. First of all, thank you very much, Dr. Gupta, for the very kind words you said. I don't know if I'm piloting the Academy so much, but thank you. I just happen to be there as the president of the board by rotation. And of course, one does one's best, whoever's occupying any particular position. I must, of course, say that I am very honored to have been introduced by Dr. Gupta, who has been a very revered professor of mine as would be true of most judges in the High Court, and a very well-respected teacher all through his career, and as a teacher, and thereafter as a director of the National Law Academy.
National Judicial
National Judicial Academy, sorry. As also of this academy, and then as director academics of this academy. I don't think he needs an introduction from anybody. I think everybody on this workshop, this conference, knows him very well, and his abilities and his capabilities as a teacher, as an administrator, and above all as an academician. Thank you very much, sir. Let me start. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. You've all gone through a very grueling 2 days, I hope, and I'm sure a very useful 2 days. So I'll keep it short and I hope sweet. That's for you to judge, of course. First of all, I'd like to thank the Chief Justice for having spared time, for having taken a lot of personal interest in the workshop, and in fact, having initiated the process of this workshop, and having pushed all of us into ensuring that it takes place at an early date in these days of the ongoing pandemic. And his very illustrious address yesterday, I was not aware, frankly, of the background of the law on the subject going back to the 19th century. 1833 he had referred to some occurrence in England, and then the 1860s. Leading to first the Apprenticeship Act in England, then thereafter the Children's Act. What was the exact name of the Children's Act in the early 60s?
That's right.
The Children's Act in the early 60s in India. Then, of course, the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act, 1986, and the same act in 2000, and then 2015 with the present amendment in 2021. I need not dwell on the on the intricacies of each particular act. I'm sure you're all well aware of it, and this workshop would have obviously added to everybody's knowledge and everybody's experience, because an interactive experience, or even other than purely book reading experience, is always enhanced by lectures on the subject, an in-depth study on the subject by way of such workshops. And for that purpose, I need to first thank all the resource persons, the speakers in the 9 sessions that took place, starting with Honorable Justice Thakur, my colleague on the bench, Ms. Mandeep Pannu, District and Sessions Judge Moga, Mr. Baljinder Singh Saraj, Judge Children's Court Bathinda, Dr. KP Singh, former DGP Haryana. I was pleasantly surprised to know that he had addressed taken 2 sessions of the workshop. Dr. Sukhda Pritam, Secretary DLSA Ambala and former Principal Magistrate of the Juvenile Justice Board. Ms. Arzu Gupta, Child Psychologist from the Government Medical College and Hospital, Sector 32, Chandigarh. That is indeed a very, very, I think, useful input from a person who deals with child psychology on a day-to-day basis in a medical capacity. Ms. Sangeeta Vardhan, former Chairperson, Child Welfare Committee, Chandigarh. Shri Sunil Kumar, Assistant Director, National Institute of Public Cooperation and Child Development from the Ministry of Women and Child Development, Government of India, posted at the Regional Centre here at Mohali. And of course, Mrs. Nagpal, Director of Administration of the Academy, who, along with Dr. Gupta and vice versa, have ensured a very successful workshop over these 2 days. A subject which has I'm sure been thrashed threadbare in the workshop due to the effort of the 2 directors of the academy, as also all members of the teaching faculty and the resource persons and speakers. Justice Augustine George Massey, the chairman of the Juvenile Justice Care Committee of the High Court, who also addressed the workshop yesterday, and of course, who other than the directors of the academy and the Chief Justice was the person actually behind this workshop. along with the other members of the committee. I won't dwell any further on the act itself, which as persons who are dealing with it on a day-to-day basis or will be dealing with it at some point of time, you would be aware of it and would have gone through the intricacies of it over the past 2 days. But I would like to say a couple of things. First, of course, which of course I'm just reiterating, all of you are more than aware of that. You're all judges and intellectuals who are dealing with the subject on a day-to-day basis at the ground level, that the aims and objectives of any legislation, and specifically this one, which deals with child welfare in general, and children in conflict with law in particular, need to be looked at. The aims and objectives thereof of each successive act need to be looked at very carefully for all of us who are dealing with the subject or dealing with the issues that come up in court before us on a day-to-day basis. We are all aware of the intent of the legislature behind the act, the aims and objectives, and the principles that guided the enactment itself. Once we have that clear in our mind, then interpretation of the provisions of the act does not become difficult, and we proceed accordingly in dealing with the day-to-day cases that come up before us. I would like to also say that, as you are all obviously very well aware, children who have unfortunately got misguided either due to their circumstances, economic circumstances, social circumstances, or have simply gone wayward because of the company that they keep or because they found it a life of crime as teenagers, an exciting life, inverted commas, open closed, need to be guided in the true perspective of the legislations, or rather the legislation as it exists today. And consequently, we as judges who are dealing with them on a day-to-day basis need to keep that in mind uppermost, which of course I'm sure all of you are, that we need to guide them even while presiding over the cases dealing with their alleged crimes, to ensure that we do not deal with it in a mechanical manner, so that they do not feel that they're getting treated as such, and to the extent possible, they are guided by us in whatever little time we have in each particular case to become better citizens, and for us to ensure that the principles which go behind each act are adhered to by us and are looked at very carefully in considering such cases before us and in delivering orders and judgments. A very small example I'd like to give. One of the cases which came up before me in, I think, the past few months, and I say this with all due respect to the board and the appellate authority as it delivered those judgments, and keeping in mind, of course, that the High Court is always, specifically in bail cases and such like cases, the third authority, which is the third forum, which is removed from the actual person, in as much as we very, very rarely have the actual accused in front of us. So therefore, I say this with all humility and due respect and regard to the board, the members of the board and the appellate authority that passed the orders. But that particular instance, I must, just for the sake of trying to bring home what I want to say, the order had been passed that the child, if released on bail, would come in contact with other accused or other criminals of like mind, and therefore it would not be in his interest to admit him to bail. Upon the argument of the counsel concerned, I had called for the record, specifically with regard to his co-accused in the matter, and also asking for a report as regards other persons, whether juveniles or otherwise, in his locality or in his village, who were predisposed towards crime or had been ever accused of any crime. The report I got back was that all his co-accused, every single one of them, was already in custody, not granted bail. And as regards any other persons in his locality, there was nobody who had been ever accused of any crime. So that left me wondering as to why then he had been denied bail on that ground. That if he goes back to that locality, he will come into contact with persons who are predisposed towards crime, and therefore, in terms of the act, etc., it would not be in his best interest. Very sadly, the order had been obviously passed in a mechanical manner. And I'm not saying this happens in every case. In most cases, in fact, in 99% cases, that they are very well thought out orders, very well looked into. And all of us make mistakes. And as I said, I'm far removed from the accused actually appearing. He did not appear before me. And lot eventually goes into an order on the demeanor of the accused in front of the particular court. But nevertheless, we need to look into these aspects before we pass any orders specifically in relation to children and juveniles in conflict with law, because those orders eventually can have a very, very deep, long-lasting, deep impact on their lives, if not for the rest of their lives, at least for a very long part of it. So please let us all, starting from the magistrates right up to all of us in the High Court, look at each case individually in its proper perspective. Look at the background of the person, look at his circumstances, look at the outcome of the order we are going to pass and the effect it would have on her or him in the short run and the long run both. Of course, balancing that with the effect of any such order on other members of the society to whom he is going to be released or not going to be released. So please, that's a very small incident I wish to share with you. And to repeat, again, all of you are very fully aware of the responsibilities on your heads, on all our heads, where God has given us and has put us in a position where we need to look at, apply our minds absolutely fully, go deep into our conscience in each case and see whether what we are doing is correct and the outcome thereof, and thereafter pass whatever orders we are required to pass. With these words, I don't think anything further. Well, I can't think of anything else that I would wish to say to an intellectual group. Thank you all very much for having joined the workshop, for having made the workshop a success. And thanks again to all the resource persons, to the two directors of the Academy, Dr. Gupta, Mrs. Nagpal, and of course, the Chief Justice, Justice Ravi Shankar Jha, Justice Augustine George Massey, Justice Jayashree Thakur, and all other honorable resource persons and speakers who took out time to participate in the workshop and to make it a success. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant evening.
Thank you so much. I call upon Mrs. Shalini Nagpal for the expression of gratitude. And before I do that, let me make a confession. This workshop is the brainchild of Mrs. Shalini Nagpal. You know, she worked hard, put in heart and soul into it. She structured it, she piloted it, and carried it out so effectively. I owe a debt of gratitude to her in this particular context. In fact, I was saved of any contribution to be made in this particular workshop. It is all her effort. May I now request Mrs. Shalini Nagpal to express the gratitude.
Before that, then I need to thank her even more. In fact, I think I didn't do justice in what I said about her contribution. Thank you very much, Mrs. Nagpal and Dr. Gupta, for enlightening me on that thing. Of course, I should have known in the first place, but thank you very much, Mrs. Nagpal.
A very good evening to all. On the successful culmination of the 2 days online workshop on the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act, I have been given the privilege to propose a vote of thanks. My sincere gratitude to Honorable Mr. Justice Ravi Shankar Jha, Chief Justice Punjab and Haryana High Court and Patron-in-Chief of the Chandigarh Judicial Academy for his thought-provoking and enlightening address. My thanks to Honorable Mr. Justice George Massey, Augustine George Massey, Chairperson of the Juvenile Justice Monitoring Committee, and all the honorable members of the Juvenile Justice Monitoring Committee. Our President, Honorable Mr. Justice Amol Ratan Singh, for conceiving and conceptualizing the training program. Thank you, Your Lordships. Many thanks to the resource persons who have been working tirelessly for many days, preparing for the workshop, for the sessions, and have made the workshop a success with their rich contribution. I would also like to thank you, Sir Dr. Balram Gupta, Director Academics, Mr. Narinder Singh, the Registrar Administration and OSD of the Juvenile Justice Monitoring Committee, Madam Harshali Chaudhary, our faculty member, and our IT team for their well-coordinated efforts in the success of the program. I also extend my thanks to all the judicial officers, the principal magistrates, and the members of the JJ boards, the chairpersons, and the members of the child welfare committees, the probation officers, officers of the DCPU, the child welfare officers, the officers of the State Child Protection Society, officers of the Special Juvenile Police Unit, and child welfare police officers, all other stakeholders for their valuable participation in the workshop. I hope the 2 days have been fruitful and educating, and the purpose of the workshop is well achieved. Thank you very much.